Hello and welcome to Lesson 6 of Coding with Sahana. First, we will learn about strings. Then, we will do a practice problem on programmers. First, let's look at index numbers in strings. When a string is created in Python, each character in the string is assigned an index number, or location number. Similar to the range counting function with lists, these index numbers always start with 0. So the first item in a string will have an index of 0. It will also end one index before the last character. In this example, I set and created a variable I called phrase, and I set it equal to the phrase be kind. Below, I have also created a chart to align the indices with the characters in the string. These indices can be represented as positive and negative numbers. Positive indices go from left to right, while negative indices go from right to left. To refer to an index value, I have to first name my variable, and then inside box brackets, I would put my index number. As you can see, phrase bracket 3 is the same as phrase bracket -5. The only difference is that negatives count the characters backwards. Remember, all characters in the quotations, including spaces, symbols, letters, and numbers, are all valid index values. Now let's look at slicing a subset of a string. Python slices a string in a format similar to counting in syntax 3 of the range function. To do so, we would name our variable, and in box brackets, the first number would be where to start, the second is where to end, and the third is the step number. When slicing, we can slice off from the beginning using positive index numbers, or slice off from the end using negative index numbers. It will also end one less than the ending number. Let's look at an example of this with the same phrase, be kind, but stored in a different variable that I called school. In this first example, I coded my variable school to print out the characters starting from the third character, which was K, ending at the seventh character, which was an exclamation mark, and stepping by 2. So when we put the entire statement in a print function and click on run, it prints KN, because after K it skipped a letter, and then it printed out N, and then it stopped 2 letters before the seventh character due to this step. In this second example, since we do not have an end number or a step number, it prints the rest of the string starting from the second index, which is space. Remember, the default step number is always 1, and it will always be 1 unless notified in the third section of the bracket. In this next example, it does the opposite by printing out each character up to 6. This next notation is more similar to the second syntax of the range function because our first index number is 2, which is a space, and it will end 1 less than 5, which is index 4 or I. And the default step number is 1. In this example, we are continuing with the same syntax 3. However, we are using negative indices. In this case, we start at index -1, which is the last character, exclamation mark, and 1 less than index -7, which is index -6 or space, and we'll go 1 index at a time backwards. One shortcut to print out the value of the entire string backwards, regardless of string size, is to simply list the step size as -1 and nothing else. And as always, you would put this entire statement inside a print function to see the results in the shell. Now let's look at string methods. I would like to highly emphasize that string methods are similar to functions, but are not the same. Methods manipulate the string, but do not change it. They just produce an altered copy of the original string or variable, which has been modified according to the applied method. In this image, I've listed a few different string methods. Many of them are very intuitive, like upper, lower, and replace. But it's important to note that methods do not permanently change the value of the variable. It simply changes the value in that line of code only. Unlike functions, the notation for a method is the variable name, a period, the method name, parentheses, and values inside of the parentheses only if necessary for that specific function. Two methods that use variable values inside of the parentheses are replace and find. Now let's look at a problem with strings. So now let's do a practice assignment using what we've learned about strings, indices, and methods. So our assignment is write a Python program that determines whether the user's name starts with a vowel, ends with a vowel, both, or neither. So just by the name or the title of our assignment, we have to receive a value or an input from our user. So to do so, I am going to set a variable that I'm going to call name equal to the input of what is your name. Pretty standard, what we've been doing so far. And I will run this just to make sure it's working. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the next step. So I will first check that my first letter is equal to a vowel. So I'm going to create a comment statement. First letter equals vowel. So for this, I'm going to create another variable that I'm going to just call start vowel. So my start vowel is going to be a Boolean data type. So it's going to be true for the following conditions. So it's going to be true if name index 0 is equal to A, or if name index 0 is equal to, sorry about that, if name index 0 is equal to O, or if name index 0 is equal to E, or name index 0 is equal to I, or name index 0 is equal to U. A, E, I, O, U. The 5 different vowels in English. So my Boolean value of start vowel will be true if at least any one of these conditions are true. So name index 0, remember 0 is the first index value in a list or string. So if the first letter in my string, which is the value of name, is A, E, I, O, or U, then start vowel will be true if the starting letter is a value. We will do a similar thing for the ending value. So this would be if the ending letter is a vowel. And I'm just going to take a shortcut and copy and paste my start vowel code, and I'm going to replace this variable with a different named variable. I'm going to call it end vowel. So in this case, if name of -1, so -1 index will always refer to the last character in a string. So if the value of name, which is the input given by the user, if its last character is equal to A, O, E, I, or U, then end vowel will be true. If not, end vowel, just like start vowel, will be false because they are both Boolean data types. Now, let's go on to our control flow statements. If you remember from our previous video, we learned about how we can use control flow statements to enact a certain set of code or processes depending on our Boolean values. So I'm going to use an if statement. So if I'm going to first check that both the first letter or the start vowel and the end letter or the end vowel are both true. So if start vowel and end vowel, so if start vowel, meaning if it's true, and end vowel, meaning that is also true, then we will want it to print out name starts and ends with a vowel. Similarly, we will have to do this with the opposite. So instead of start vowel and end vowel, we could say if start vowel, if not start vowel, and not end vowel. So if both start vowel and end vowel are false, then we will print name does not start or end with a vowel. Okay, now let's go on to our next condition. So according to our assignment, we have to test for 4 total conditions. Both, neither, ends with a vowel only, or starts with a vowel only. So now we already finished our both and neither conditions. Let's go on to our individual conditions. So if start vowel, so we will just do start vowel. That is because we already checked for the both and neither cases. If our code were to satisfy one of the first two cases, then it wouldn't have moved on to the rest of our cases. So now what we will do is just if start vowel. So if start vowel, just the starting vowel is true, then print name starts with a vowel. And we would do the same thing for end vowel. So if end vowel, then name will end with a vowel. Perfect. Now let's check our code. What is your name? Oh, we have an error on line 6. Line 6 says you cannot assign to expression. Okay, let's check this error. So, as I've repeated in previous episodes, I will emphasize this again. One equal sign is only used to assign a value to a variable. So in this case, our variable is called start value. So that's why the symbol we used right after start value is one equal sign. When we're comparing two values, so in this case, name 0 with A, name 0 with O, name 0 with E, we are comparing two values. We are not assigning a value to a variable. To compare, we need to use two equal signs. So I'm going to add one more equal sign to each of these conditions in both line 6 and in line 9. So we will have to add these only to the comparison statements. Perfect. Now let's run. What is your name? Okay, I'm going to put Sahana. Sahana doesn't start or end with a vowel. So this does not print out our correct expression because, as you know, it ends with A. However, if you can tell, capital A and lowercase a is not interpreted as the same letter. In Python and in most other computer languages, capital and lowercase letters are marked with different ASCII codes. ASCII is the American English symbol and number code and table that is used in most computer programs in the US. So in that table, the numerical value for the uppercase A is different from that of lowercase a, and so on. So in this case, we will have to either include cases for lowercase a and as well as the start value as well, or we will have to lowercase the whole entire word. In this case, you could do either one. However, I'm just going to add lowercase a, e, I, o, and u to my end vowel, because I will make the assumption that the user will have to put the start vowel with an uppercase letter. So name -1 can be lowercase a, or name -1 can be lowercase o, or name -1 can be lowercase e, and so forth. Lowercase I and lowercase u. Now let's run our code. So I'm going to put in my name, Sahana again. Sahana ends with a vowel. So now, as you can see, our code prints out the correct expression that assigns with the user's given value. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and click on the bell icon for notifications on my next video.